Hello ladies and gents, and welcome to our third week of English 101. As always, at the beginning of each week, I'm going to post a video in the announcements tab that walks you through the major assignments for the week, where our resources are located, and what kind of expectations we have in terms of classwork. So if we take a look at our calendar for this upcoming week, I'm going to be talking about the essay itself, the prompt, the outline, all of that. So be prepared to dive in with your first essay for the quarter. So over the weekend, you read Murder on the Orient Express chapters 6 through 8. If you have time, I'd highly recommend trying to get the book finished as soon as possible. Technically, you're not due to read the end of the book until this coming weekend, but knowing what happens in the book is pretty crucial to be able to fully flesh out your outline or your essay or your thesis statement. So as you're thinking about writing your essay, as you're working on the drafting process, that's going to be so much easier if you've got the book finished. So if you find yourself with time, read ahead, read fast, listen to the audiobook, whatever you need to be able to figure out what the story is there and how you might support your ideas in the essay. So on Monday, I've got a really helpful video on Project 1 essay, the prompt, rubric, and outline. If you watch no other video this week, watch this one. It is the very most important one because it's going to tell you exactly how to write this essay, exactly what ideas we're covering, exactly how you can go about structuring it, how to use support to benefit your argument. All of that essential information is available for you in this video, as is how I'm going to grade it. We're going to talk about the rubric. We're going to talk about outlines. So do make sure to please watch this video. It is a two-part video. It is a little bit longer. It runs about 20 minutes instead of the 15 I normally try and cap the videos at. But it's very valuable information for writing a very high point assignment. So please watch it. I also have a thesis worksheet for you to go through as you're kind of playing with your ideas, figuring out how you want to argue. The thesis worksheet you're going to download here as a Word doc. You're going to fill it out, and then you're going to upload it to an assignment this week. This is going to walk you through the steps of writing a thesis specifically geared toward this compare and contrast style of academic writing. So I'm going to ask you to create your own definition for the term revenge, because in this essay we're going to be arguing whether revenge or justice was the primary theme of Agatha Christie's novel and what kind of implications that holds for us as a society, if that's the way we interpret the book and if that's the message that Agatha Christie is trying to send to her readers. So I want you to define revenge, I want you to define justice, and then I want you to talk about one specific difference between these terms, and then I want you to explain one significant similarity between these terms, because we are doing a compare and contrast essay. We're looking at significant differences and similarities and then putting forward our argument. Point 5, which of these terms do you believe is the major theme? And I want at least one specific piece of evidence that needs to come from the novel itself. So include a page number, include a quote. If you can, I want one specific piece of evidence in this worksheet. And then I want you to write a thesis statement that provides context for your analysis, acknowledges the complexity of both terms, and argues what the implications are if your chosen term is at the heart of Christie's work. Down here at the bottom it says exchange for peer review. Your partner reviewing it will be me. So when you turn in the thesis worksheet, I'm going to give you feedback on the thesis, telling you whether I think it's successful or if it needs maybe a little additional work. Oh, and here's one of my dogs. This is Scout. Yay, cameo in the video. We also have a dog named Jem, if you read To Kill a Mockingbird. Both my husband and I teach English. We're a bit of a nerd family, so we named our dogs after book characters. Yay! Alright, so back to the thesis worksheet. We're going to write a thesis statement that provides context for the analysis. So context for the analysis might be something along the lines of providing the author's name and the title of the work. So we could say something like, I think it's hard when people are watching, Agatha Christie's novel. And in MLA format, book titles are always italicized. So do make sure to always italicize book titles. Article titles, however, interestingly enough, are just in quotation marks. They are not italicized. So keep that in mind as you're writing. So in Agatha Christie's novel Murder on the Orient Express, this is a dependent clause that's introducing a sentence. So I'm going to offset it with a comma before I move into the independent clause. So this would be the context. In Agatha Christie's novel Murder on the Orient Express. Context, the source material I'm working with before I move on to the argument I'm going to make. That's the first thing that we need to have in our thesis statement. The second thing acknowledges the complexity of both terms. So we might say something like, in Agatha Christie's novel Murder on the Orient Express, the concepts of revenge and justice are juxtaposed. How do you spell that? There we go. Juxtapose means to hold two things up together, to compare them, and to derive some meaning from that comparison. So in Agatha Christie's novel, the concepts of revenge and justice are juxtaposed, which means they're complex. We've got to examine them in order to understand them. And then the third thing that we have to do in this thesis statement is argue what the implications are if your chosen term is the heart of Agatha Christie's work. So if we want to do that in this thesis, we could say, in Agatha Christie's novel, Murder on the Orient Express, the concepts of revenge and justice are juxtaposed, forcing the reader to, and then you're going to decide which of these two terms you're going to argue is your theme. So forcing the reader to an understanding that, oh, and there's the other dog, there's Jem. Forcing the reader to an understanding that revenge is the true theme of this complex novel. Something like that. So there we go. We've got what our theme is going to be. We want it to be very clear to our reader which of these concepts we're arguing. In this one, I'm going to say revenge is Agatha Christie's theme. And so I want that to be very easy to understand based on the thesis. So I've got the first bit. I've got my context. I then have acknowledging that this is a tricky subject. That's the second part. And then the third part of the thesis is going to argue which of the topics will be highlighted in the essay. So those 3 points need to come together for you in this thesis worksheet. If you have any other questions about the thesis statements, please feel free to reach out. Thesis statements, in my opinion, are one of the most challenging parts of writing an essay. So that's why we're doing it early on. That's why we've got a thesis worksheet. That's why you're going to be getting feedback so that you have some guidance moving forward in this crucial step of your essay. Then you're going to be continuing to read the novel throughout the week. I've got some historical context about the Charles Lindbergh kidnapping tragedy that formed the real-life inspiration for our novel. So if you want to watch that, very interesting stuff. And then I'm going to start outlining, brainstorming, writing compare and contrast lists, whatever your writing process looks like, you should be starting it this week. Ideally, we want to start it kind of on the 14th and the 15th so that we don't save everything for the night before it's due, which I know sometimes happens even with the best of intentions. But putting it on the calendar just reminds us to start that process. I'm going to remind you to write it here again. And then we do have some reading questions. There's an article called Is That a Symbol? That's really interesting, might be helpful for you. And so we've got some reading questions in a discussion board there. Compare and contrast PowerPoint posted in the modules tab that kind of walks you through the academic genre itself and different reasons why we might write in this style. Another friendly reminder to keep writing. Another friendly reminder to keep writing. And then do make sure that you've got the novel finished by the conclusion of this week. Because next week you are going to be peer reviewing your essay on Monday and peer reviewing your essay again on Wednesday. So you need to have at least the first 4 paragraphs written by Monday. So do make sure that you are working towards that goal. Once again, academic researchers say the 2 things that really set people apart to be successful in academic writing and other subjects, not intellect, not IQ, it's how well you're able to use your networking, how well you're able to connect with others, and how well you're able to manage your time. So manage your time wisely and well, use this calendar to guide you, and you should be all right. The final thing I want to show you today in our overview video is if you go into the modules tab, once again you go into the project 1 folder. Everything you need to be successful in this assignment is linked for you here. All of our PowerPoints, all of our videos, all available for you in the modules tab. All the supporting materials, fabulous articles to help you out. This article in particular, Psychological Approach to Revenge and Justice, highly, highly, highly recommend that you use this as the source in your essay. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. If your teacher says highly, highly recommend that many times, like probably use this as one of your sources. So check it out, read through it. It's going to help you define revenge and justice really clearly. And then finally, you've got all the essay stuff here, compare and contrast PowerPoint. The recorded lecture that I said is the most important thing to watch this week, right here. Do make sure to watch it. I've got the grading rubric for you, the thesis worksheet, compare and contrast, outline for the essay, everything you need to be successful right here. So check it out, folks. Reach out if you have questions, and happy writing.